As we go into this video series on family, I want to relate two important events that happened to me. One, I was in engineering up in Seattle, Washington, and I found a really neat barber shop in downtown Renton. And it was run by some Chinese, Vietnamese people. It was just always a pleasant place to go. They were glad to see you. The haircut was great, and the prices were very reasonable. So it was in that shop I found one particular lady that cut hair, and she just always did the best job for me. I don't know why, but I remember that she was left-handed, and if I was to see her today, I definitely would recognize her. And so as I sat in her chair, we would talk, and I was interested regarding her viewpoints on our culture and also her culture and where she came from and what was her beliefs and understandings about life and family and all that. In talking with her, she would talk about what she was instilling in her children, and she mentioned that, which I thought was really fascinating, she mentioned that she was teaching her children three things. One was to respect money, so she'd give them a little bit of money and they would save some and be able to spend some, so she was teaching them about finances. She was teaching them the importance of education, and she was also teaching them about respect for older people, not only the grandparents they had, and mom and dad, but just people in general. Just thought it was really, really neat what she was doing with her children. One particular time we got around to talking about marriage and family, and I thought her comment here is something that I'll probably remember for life. She said, and she didn't say it in a condescending way, but she just said kind of matter-of-factly, she said, American women are spoiled. And she went on to say, she goes, in our culture, even if we have a bad marriage, she said, we would rather suffer a little bit ourselves than to put that suffering upon our children. And what she was talking about was leaving the marriage. So fast forward. From Seattle, I'm in San Diego, actually where I am right now, and I'm in a divorce care class. And in the very beginning session of the class, I wasn't teaching, but there was some talk going on, and I just commented on how difficult and devastating divorce was on the children. And the leader of the class went, oh, she goes, no. She goes, children are resilient. And it just took me by surprise. It's like, where have we been that we come up with comments like that? Children, when divorce happens, a lot of times mom is crying or dad's crying because of the separation. The home is being broken up. Somebody generally suffers financially. So there's the aspect of finding finances and being able to take care of things. Events and family occasions get broken in half. And sometimes even the kids become the counselors. Hey, mom, it's okay. Dad, it's all right. We'll work it out. They get pushed up into some adulthood that they really shouldn't be involved in. They should be just being kids. So kids aren't as resilient. And how could kids be more resilient than grown adults? It's just we're expecting too much from them, and it's just not true. So somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong. When I was thinking of what my Chinese barber was saying, she was saying the opposite. She said, I would rather go through a hard time and not put that on my children, because she saw that the children were important. She saw that the children weren't resilient. And she saw that marriage was just a key component of their lives. And having a stable home and a staying mom and dad was just a real key element to their lives. It was a New York Times bestseller, kind of a landmark book called The Unforeseen Legacy of Divorce. And the author writes something that I quote about in the beginning of my book. She initially says that there's two myths that a lot of people deal from, maybe again in American culture. One is that if the parent or the person, like the parent, is happier, then the kids will be happier too. If it's not an environment I want to be in, or dad's a little grumpy or whatever, that finances are bad, or we're struggling a little bit more than we should and we should have a better life, the concept is, if I'm happier, then you kids will be happier too. And she says, this author says, that's just a myth. And the second thing she says is that some people feel like, well, once the divorce takes place and the initial litigation is over and all the settlements have been made, that the pain is over. That's just the most painful part, is that time, and after that things get better and everything's fine. The author writes, and I agree, that's a myth. So somebody's got to be right or wrong. I'm going with the Chinese barber. You know, in her, I see this reflection of caring about for the children, knowing what they really, really need, and being willing to stand in the gap for that. This comment in a divorce care class about children are resilient shows the opposite to me. It shows no real care for the children. It shows this myth. It shows the lack of paying attention to what really goes on. And that just didn't happen in the barber's culture, and I'm afraid sometimes in our culture it just happens. We just have these myths and assumptions that if we look clearly, they don't exist at all. So going into this session, I hope you'll join us for family, taking a look at some really important topics having to do with family. We're just starting this video series. My book has been out for a while, but we're just starting the video series, so I just hope and pray you'll be patient with us as we get things ready. We're going to try and do one a month just to get started, so just be patient with us as we do that. My name is Ken Conley. The book I wrote is called The Forgotten Option. I hope you'll join us.